and welcome Dr. Ganguly. We are really delighted that you are joining us for the Daily Dialogues today. So, for our audience, we would definitely like to learn from you. Who is Dr. Bhaskar Ganguly? Where did you grow up, and what you do as of now?
Okay. Thank you very much, Prashantji, for having me. So basically, I'm a veterinarian by profession, and I had a wonderful upbringing in a small village, I'd say, because it was, qualified as a village only. It's called
Mhm.
Pantnagar. It's
Okay.
very famous in the agricultural community. Most people know Pantnagar, as a brand itself.
Yeah.
So I grew up there. I was there till I was 24 years of age,
Mhm.
and means after that only I got to move out of Patnagar. So I had all my education from Patnagar only,
Mhm.
and means my undergraduation that was means in veterinary sciences, my post graduation MBSc in animal biotechnology and
Mhm.
veterinary biochemistry, and my PhD in veterinary biochemistry and veterinary physiology.
Mhm.
So all of that education happened in Patnagar only. After that, I moved on and means I have been with Ayurved. Uh,
Mhm.
that is means basically my first assignment.
Okay.
So I am completing 5 years with them this month itself.
Mhm.
So I joined them in November
Mhm.
2017 as head of clinical research, and that is pretty much about it.
Awesome. Why, when you said Pantnagar, I had a smile on my face because I am from Dehradun. I am a biology student as well. And when you are completing your biology, you're from Dehradun, one of the options that you always apply for is actually Pantnagar University. Yeah, but you have to be very lucky and they have to be like highly qualified to go there. So I did not enter into that university, but I know of that university and I also know of its reputation. So yeah, so like you said, like you were there, like living in Pantnagar till the age of 24, you have completed your undergrad and masters and even your PhD in the university, and now you're working with Ayurved. So when you talk about clinical research, like could you just like share what kind of work that you do as of now?
Yeah. So clinical research is basically means part of regulatory pharmacology.
Mhm.
But in veterinary scenario, it tends to get even means more broader than that.
Mhm.
In the sense that means if we talk means core clinical research functions.
Mhm.
So they look into means let's say a pharma company is making certain products. So
Mhm.
whether those products act or not, whether they are safe or not, and means
Mhm.
let's say if a product has been in the market for certain period of time,
Mhm.
is it still working or not?
Mhm.
But means in the veterinary scenario, it tends to take up certain other broader functions. So the same goes here at Ayurved also. So
Mhm.
Ayurved specializes in the manufacturing of means herbal veterinary medicines
Mhm.
and animal feed supplements.
Mhm.
So we have lots of products in our kitty across different species. So means livestock, large ruminants, small ruminants, then pets also, swine, poultry, aqua, everything.
Mhm.
And as I said, we are manufacturing both means,
Mhm.
veterinary medicines and feed supplements. So means we before a product is being launched, we'd like to see whether it is efficacious or not. Means
Mhm.
eventually whether let's say after launching whether it will work or not, that is to be evaluated.
Mhm.
So new products undergo thorough clinical research, clinical testing pipelines to see whether they'll be efficacious or not.
Okay.
Then there are safety issues to be means addressed, that whether a product if given whether it will be safe for the target animal species
Mhm.
or not.
Mhm.
So we are doing means oral toxicity studies. There are certain medicinal products which are to be applied topically,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
ointments. So for them, we are doing dermal toxicity studies. Then there are chances that a dermal product may be licked up by the animal. So in that
Mhm.
case, for even for a dermal ointment, we'll be doing oral toxicity studies, so on. Then, as I said earlier, it means a product has been in the market for a certain length of time, and during this length of time, let's say 25 years, 30 years, the disease spectrum means uh, the range of organisms that causes a certain disease that has changed. Then
Yeah.
disease dynamics, the factors that
Mhm.
influence the outcomes of a disease causing agent, let's say climatic
Mhm.
variables or different things, they have changed. So again, we cannot assume that a product means will work at the same level as it was working 20 years, 25 years back.
Mhm.
So that is why means even clinical research will include products that have been in the market for a certain period of time as
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well. Then competitor products arrive on the, in the scenario. So we have to evaluate our products against
Mhm.
competitors also.
Mhm.
So all of that is taken care by clinical research.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, this brings me to the question, and like this also brings us to the actual discussion topic, because when we met at the IDF in Noida, this is where we were also discussing like what is happening as of now, a very concurrent topic, that is lumpy skin disease. It might be on a like threshold might be going down, but still it's like in the very fresh in the minds of our farmers in our dairy sector, and even in the minds of our consumers. So um I would, because like I'm not a like a veterinary science expert, I would actually like to understand what is actually lumpy skin disease, what kind of problems it is causing, and what is the extent of the disease as of now in India.
Okay. So lumpy skin disease is actually means a type of pox viral disease.
Mhm.
So just like means pox viruses cause skin eruptions and such kinds of symptoms in human beings. We are all familiar with smallpox that used to be known as Shitala in earlier times. It
Mhm.
was obviously eradicated now,
Mhm.
but it belongs to the means same family. So within that family, viruses are classified. So pox virus has different families. Then within those families, there are different families, subfamilies. So means the lumpy skin disease virus is means more specifically also known as needling virus.
Okay.
We'll also come across the name needling virus for this particular virus.
Mhm.
So this needling virus is means best classified as a close relative of means a virus that appears in sheep and goat.
Mhm.
So we say that means needling virus is a means relative of or means closely related to means capripox, that is this goat pox virus,
Mhm.
and it is also obviously related to the sheeppox virus.
Mhm. Okay.
So means with these viruses, the symptoms have classically been the same as that for other
Mhm.
pox viruses. You get eruptions on the skin
Mhm.
surface, then fever and general malaise, discomfort.
Mhm.
But even means the virus has been in India, let's say at least it is known to have been in India since 2019,
Mhm.
because that was around the means first reports when they came from, let's say, eastern states of Odisha,
Mhm.
also West Bengal, and means it was eventually traced that the virus had entered in India through probably Bangladesh only.
Mhm.
So, but those viruses or those variants of the viruses were not of much concern, because
Mhm.
they were not so virulent, we call it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Means they were not so aggressive, should I say?
Yeah.
Means but this current means episodes that have started appearing after this rainy season and started from the western borders.
Mhm.
So here we are seeing that means the virus is much more aggressive. It is causing means much severe diseases,
Mhm.
and even the patterns of diseases they have changed means very very markedly.
Mhm.
So in many cases we are seeing that the skin lesions are appearing later, and means animals have died with very mild lesions on the surface of the skin,
Mhm. Mhm.
and there are very severe lesions inside the body of the animals.
Mhm.
I've come across reports from friends of mine working in different animal husbandry departments,
Mhm.
or as veterinarians and means as scientists in different organizations. So they are coming across symptoms which are very different from the classical presentation of
Mhm.
the disease. So they are saying that means there have been cases of blindness in the animals.
Mhm.
That is, the eyes were involved very severely. That blindness is occurring.
Mhm.
In some cases, means it is seen that this blindness is due to just opacity of the eyes. That is, the
Mhm.
eyes are getting opaque, maybe
Mhm.
due to severity of inflammation or fever,
Mhm.
something like that. But in many cases, the blindness is also occurring because those lumps or those eruptions are means appearing actually in the eyes.
Oh.
So that is something uncommon. Then
Mm.
in many cases, as I said, the entire trachea or means
Mm.
the windpipe that is means developing those eruptions.
Wow.
So usually when that happens, that tends to be mild and respiratory symptoms or the respiratory
Mhm.
involvement that is not very high. But we are coming across fair number of cases where that has happened and
Mhm.
animals are developing severe pneumonia, breathing difficulties.
Mhm.
So means this is actually we I came across a report from
Mhm.
Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. I
IJV.
don't know, IGIB.
Yeah.
So they had published a report on the genotyping of the viruses that are currently in circulation.
Mhm.
So they had reported that these viruses are very different from the viruses that have been circulating so far or that are been
Mhm.
circulating around in country. But I don't know, means that was a preprint only, did not appear in any journal, and they have
Mhm.
taken it down. So maybe they are making some additions to the final report or something before publishing.
Mhm.
But they have taken it down. But they had clearly mentioned that this virus that is currently causing the disease is different. Let's say a group of or a cluster
Mhm.
within the broader family. So it is very different from the
Yeah.
virus that has been circulating so far.
Yeah. So like there has been some news about the similar kind of virus being present in the Indonesian dairy sector.
Right, right,
So
right.
like has there been any study done that like that compares the viruses between that is present in India that is present in Indonesia? Is there any like correlation between these two viruses or these current variants, or because like when I think of Bangladesh, I definitely think of like a lot of animal agriculture because it's a porous border. A lot of animals traveling from here, then a significant amount of smuggling also happens. But I would have rather seen like something go from India towards Bangladesh rather than percolating other way around. So that's why yeah, like I think, but like it's very interesting to learn that the origin has been tracked back to Bangladesh. But now coming back to like, is there a similarity between the variants that we have in India as of now and one in the Indonesian belt?
Actually means the 2019 virus means when
Mm.
it entered through Bangladesh means when it was posited to be
Mhm, mhm.
have entered through Bangladesh. At
Yeah.
that time, they were saying that the virus was very similar to means classical Kenyan strains.
Mhm.
So the virus that is usually found in African countries like
African
Kenya,
countries. Yeah.
virus that appeared in 2019 and
Mhm,
subsequently, that was very similar to those.
mhm,
But this particular means virus that is causing so much havoc, and we have lost close to 1.2 million,
mhm,
yeah, sorry, 0.12 million animals
mhm,
already.
mhm,
So this particular virus, yes, it has shown certain similarities to the Indonesian variants, but
mhm.
I am yet to come across any reports which say that means the viruses are related to each other.
Okay. Okay. So, like now talking about the Indian context. So, like you start reading from like okay, Gujarat may something is happening there, like Maharashtra may happening. Then Rajasthan was very much affected. We had some news from Punjab. We also heard some news coming from Uttar Pradesh. Now, like, what was the biggest reason for the influx of these viruses? Like, how did it spread so like strongly within the country? Do you think, like, is it a biosecurity related? Some challenges were there, or what would have actually caused these kind of spread?
See, one factor that means is always there is means pox viruses, na, they tend to spread through multiple routes.
Mm-hmm.
I am thankful to COVID in the sense that it has made the public aware about viruses. So
Mm-hmm.
now
Yeah.
the public in general is very
Yeah.
comfortable talking about viruses and how do they spread.
Mm-hmm.
So if I talk of means pox viruses, they could spread through means aerosol routes.
Mm-hmm.
Means once the lesions or means the scabs means after the eruptions after they dry, they
Mm-hmm.
turn into a dry crust of skin. That skin falls down,
Mm-hmm.
so that can means break up into dust like particles and they can be airborne. So that is infective. Obviously, then means biting insects. They have been responsible for transmitting the disease. Then means through the owner or a common handler or a person visiting means from a nearby farm,
Mm-hmm.
utensils, clothing, covering means cumbals, blankets, or
Mm-hmm.
visiting the same, drinking means ponds,
Mm-hmm.
anything means even sputum, drooling from the animal's mouth, means lying on the grass, another
mm,
animal grazing over the same area.
mm,
So you think means name it and means a possible
mm,
route of transmission exists for pox viruses through that route.
mm,
So the viruses were very, should I say, uh, promiscuous in that particular sense that they
mm,
are means this particular virus is capable of spreading through multiple routes. So that was a contributing factor. And
mm,
obviously means since this virus is very different from the ones that had been circulating, so there have been multiple mutations,
mm,
and we are yet to come across means what mutations are exactly
mm,
involved. A
mm.
problem with pox viruses is that their size is very big.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
very large viruses.
Mm,
So that is why means their behavior is slightly difficult to predict, and
mm.
we are also yet to pinpoint. Mutations have obviously been identified,
Yeah.
but how do those mutations contribute to specific aspects of the enhanced pathogenicity or virulence, that is yet to be determined.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. So, like now we have also like talked about okay, where it originated, how it's spread. What actually like, because like there was a time when I thought okay, it's gonna spread throughout the country. What actually like was it the government what or policy makers, like it was awareness among the farmers and the ecosystem, what prevented it to like go blast in the country, or like or it has already blasted and we do not know of it?
More than means the ecosystem that you're referring to, I'd say it's the seasonality of the disease.
Okay.
You know, the disease is, the spread of the disease is dependent on insect vectors,
Mhm.
and then means the virus can persist in the environment for a
Okay.
substantial length of time, but
Mhm.
then it requires optimum conditions.
Mhm.
So the post monsoon and high humidity
Mhm.
conditions, they are very conducive for the virus
Okay.
to spread, both in terms of means helping the vectors
Mhm.
to exist, means the
Mhm.
insects to exist,
Mhm.
and then means the free viruses, or means let's say those scabs or the sputum and all that, to
Mhm.
stay viable in the environment. So in any case means wherever LSD
Mhm.
occurs throughout the world, it's a known fact that it is likely to, the cases, number of cases, they tend to go up after rains when humidity tends to be high.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of means heat and humidity that tends to flare the virus.
Okay.
So as that period goes down, you will see number of cases going down through different states. So yes, we are still seeing means plenty of cases in Maharashtra and maybe some adjoining borderline
Mhm.
uh, areas of other states. But we hope that means
Mhm.
soon, means as winters arrive and that
Mhm.
dry spell starts,
Mhm.
so the number of cases will go down.
Okay, so now let's talk about, okay, so now the virus is there, like and it is like a seasonality has a huge impact on the virus's effectiveness or like its ability to infect other animals. So let's talk about like in the current environment, it will go dormant or it will stay or it will die down, because I'm just concerned about the next year, because like we are going to have a similar span next year. So is it gonna be a similar amount of problem? Or you have to like next year, by next year we would have like vaccinations available, and then we shouldn't be worried about that.
So see, it's very difficult to foretell what will happen next year, but means
Yeah.
I go by what
Yeah.
usually happens with viruses.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, viruses need live hosts for
Yeah.
perpetuation. Okay?
Yeah.
So killing its host is never a favorable outcome for a virus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any virus which shows very high death of its hosts, as has been the case with LSD in this particular occasion,
Mm-hmm.
it happens because a new mutant arrives and that mutant is capable of spreading, but it is not yet adjusted to the population.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Any virus, means I'm not talking of animals only, be it
Mm-hmm.
humans, anything, if a new virus arrives and it is causing lots of mortality, so that is not a favorable outcome for the virus, because
Yeah.
means if the host dies, the virus dies with
Mm-hmm.
the host within it.
Mm-hmm.
So means going by the tenets of virology, I'll say that means the mutant will gradually adapt itself to the population,
Mm-hmm.
and the number of cases should be lesser in means
Mm,
seasons to come. That is obviously because the virus will try to adapt, and
mm,
means the animals will also develop certain
mm.
element of immunity to the virus.
Okay.
I see both of those factors coming into play.
This is awesome. So now, because like we have already talked about the science, now talking about like if because a lot of our audience members are actually dairy processors. Like when they are thinking about the next season, like what should they be prepared with? What advice they should give to their farmers about the hygiene, about like symptoms? Would you be able to give them some suggestions for next year?
I'll means like to refer to the traditional
Mm,
description of pox that
mm,
appears in our
mm,
traditional
mm,
literature.
mm,
So earlier I was speaking about Shitala Mata.
mm,
So in the traditional literature and mythology, it is referred that Shitala Mata, she wears a yellow sari and she is very fond of cleanliness.
yeah.
And she carries with her a pot in which there is, something. In some texts, it is referred that she carries Ganga water in it,
Mm-hmm,
and that Ganga water also has urad dal in it. Okay,
mm-hmm,
and in her other hand she carries a fan. So
mm-hmm,
whenever she is angry, she fans that water and urad dal that spills out, and
mm-hmm.
it causes pox like lesions. Those
Okay.
eruptions are actually urad dal, and that
Mm-hmm,
is how
mm-hmm,
it has been described traditionally.
mm-hmm,
So it is said that Shitla Mata is very fond of cleanliness, and wherever she sees means bad hygiene, or that tends to make her very angry. And
mm-hmm.
then she goes into fanning, and then those urad dals they
Yeah,
start spilling.
yeah, yeah.
So maybe means good hygiene is our means best practice to limit the spread of the virus.
Mm-hmm,
We need to keep animals far from each other.
mm-hmm,
Means at least means we know that most households that have animals in India, they are not well to do. Let's say
mm-hmm,
so it
mm-hmm,
may not be possible for them to, let's say, if they are having two or three animals, they may not
mm-hmm,
be able to space them apart.
mm-hmm.
But it is very important that those two three animals they are spaced properly from the other household
Other
that has
option.
animals.
Yeah.
है ना?
Mm-hmm.
So that means animals, households do not spread disease between them.
That is true. That is
So
true.
that is one area.
Mm-hmm,
Plus means complete lockdown for animals
mm-hmm,
when the disease means appears.
mm-hmm,
No visiting of common drinking grounds
mm-hmm,
and grazing pastures. So animals must be fed stall fed only,
mm-hmm,
and means the community has a big role to play, because
mm-hmm,
one person just flouting these rules,
mm-hmm,
so that puts the entire community at risk. So
mm-hmm.
that is there. And means, hygiene is very important. So
Yeah.
even animal owners have to train themselves that they must
Mm-hmm,
wash their hands
mm-hmm,
properly,
mm-hmm,
and all the belongings of the animals, cumbals and buckets and
mm-hmm,
your means hands, means overall cleanliness that has
mm-hmm.
to be followed.
Makes
So
sense.
these are important.
Yeah.
And vector control, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, one question that like I saw you making a comment on LinkedIn because this is also like what one thing I'm part of like some of these WhatsApp groups. So like not exactly WhatsApp universities, all the data experts are there, but someone shared picture of a feet of a small baby infant. And the kid had like smallpox like lesions like on its feet. So this is where and like it has created a lot of concerns among the consumers. So do you think like it is this disease is actually transferring from animals to humans, or it can transmit through milk or consumption of other dairy products to humans?
When you say is it transmitting, I am yet to come across any reports which say that it has been transmitted.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say that can it transmit, so then it throws a very wild thoughts,
Yeah.
because it's difficult to answer that question,
Mm-hmm.
that can it transmit or not. We have come across official statements from IVRI and such institutes
Mm-hmm.
which clearly say that the disease cannot be transmitted to human beings.
Mm-hmm.
The official statement of FAO and certain other means international bodies on the subject is the same.
mm,
But then means there is one publication from Egypt.
mm,
The means credentials of the publications are not very good,
mm,
but they have reported that there was a event where there was spillage of the virus from animals to human beings.
mm,
So other than that, I have not come across any other report where they
mm.
have said that the disease has been transmitted to
Yeah.
animals.
Okay.
So, and means I must also be very, sincere in warning the audiences against scaremongering that is going on.
Mm, mm,
I see means comments coming from very senior members of parliament and
mm.
means people who are scaring people into saying that no, the disease is means the milk is completely turned into poison. You must not consume.
Yeah,
And
exactly. This is what I was talking about. Yes.
so that should not be happening.
So
A
science is
very
not backing
balanced.
any of these kind of
Uh,
scaremongering that is happening at the moment.
uh,
So milk
Exactly.
is perfectly fine. You should
Uh,
drink milk. You should like not give
uh,
up
a
on
balanced and
milk.
poised statement in such a
Mm,
scenario would have been that there is no report existing which supports that the virus can be transmitted,
mm,
but since pox viruses are capable of surviving and being transmitted through milk,
mm.
so on a safer side we should go for boiling of milk as the traditional Indian
Traditional
practice
way
has.
of like us, like
Uh,
how we drink milk. Yeah.
Pasteurization may not help.
Mm,
Pasteurization may not always help.
mm.
So boiled milk should be safe. That is
Okay.
for sure.
This is very good. Okay, I think like this is like very very valuable because now we have covered like the history, we have covered like what is the science behind the disease. We have also talked about um, like your suggestions towards the processors and also to the consumers. Now let's talk slightly about the future because like it's not just about one disease, not about two diseases, but um, like it's about like do we have a system in within the country where we are able to track diseases, how they are moving, what is their origin, like is there a reporting system that is present in the country and or it's not present in the country? What is your take on this?
See, there are different bodies in the country which track diseases that have been, marked, or let's say that have been considered to be of importance.
Mm, mm,
So we have this ICR Institute, NIVEDI,
mm,
National Institute of Veterinary Epidemiology and Disease Investigation at Bangalore. So
mm,
they have, their own set of diseases. I believe 11 or 12 diseases
mm,
that they track.
mm,
So far they had not been tracking LSD,
mm.
but hopefully they will track it in means the seasons to come.
Yeah.
Then there are different other organizations like this organization in Bhopal, again ICR Institute.
Mm,
Earlier it went by the name HACDL, High
mm,
Security Animal Disease Laboratory.
mm,
So they also keep a track of the different new emerging and re-emerging diseases,
mm.
especially viruses.
Yeah.
So means there are lots of organizations, but again, since it is not possible to track all diseases that
Yeah.
come into a country, they are doing a fair job of tracking most of them, or those
Mm,
that appear to be the biggest threats.
mm,
So they have been doing that.
mm,
And means going back to the reason that why so many diseases are coming up, it's not about just one disease.
mm.
So climate change has been a major player there,
Okay.
because as we see that many of these diseases, be it this lumpy skin disease,
Mm,
or be it a different disease not of dairy, African swine fever,
mm,
and even avian influenza.
mm,
So changes in climatic patterns, they are to blame means to a great
mm,
extent.
mm,
So in lumpy skin disease, there have been changes in the distribution of the vectors, or means
mm,
arthropods, means the
mm,
insects that are responsible for carrying
mm,
the viruses. So we'll see more and more populations of insects in post rainy seasons now
mm,
with
mm,
climate change. So obviously insect borne diseases will go up.
mm,
Same appears means since I was referring to avian influenza.
mm,
So climate change has it has changed the timings at which different migratory birds used to come into India,
mm, mm,
and it has also changed the timings at which intersections of different migratory birds used to take
mm.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are coming across more mixing up of birds while they are means on their route coming to India. So all of that means there are many ways than we understand that climate change is influencing all of these diseases.
Okay. So like I think like we have covered most of the topics. I have a like last question, and that is also very close to my heart, is because now we are talking about dairy sector. We also like during the IDF, you also saw that how aggressive Indian government is going towards making Indian dairy sector a global player. But somehow quality, hygiene, they always remain a big concern. But beyond that, like we also have concerns regarding abuse of towards animal health related products, I would say. So for example, so I would actually like to ask you, how can India as a nation like improve its milk quality and also ensure better animal health? Because like animal health is somehow also related to the better milk quality. So what would be your take on this?
In quality control of milk or milk-based products, testing is required, obviously. So be it testing for residues, or be it testing for, let's say, toxins, or let's say be it testing for contaminants like whatever they be. So more and more testing is obviously required. So as of now, most of milk collection centers and even farmers, big farms where they do it, they are mostly concerned about fat and means the commercial entities that bring value to them. So somehow, I believe it is still, it will take time because those things, what is actually required, so it will take time to percolate. So unless the farmers themselves, they become, more conscious that, okay, these are the things that I need to test for. So till then, that element will be missing. So farmer education is required. And if we are talking about cooperatives at big farms, so then yes, those testing elements, that what are the different elements that they are testing for, that has to come into force. Because the parameters for which we are testing as of now, that is very scanty. So more testing would be required. If we talk of residues only, let's say antibiotic residues or drug residues in general, so the number of be it antibiotics or drug residues for which our milk samples are being tested, it is very low actually. And there is only a handful of antibiotics, if at all. Some people, some of the major players are testing them for. Otherwise, though, I believe bulk of the produce that is not being tested for those products. Same happens for contaminants like dioxins and those kinds of contaminants. Then toxins also, occasionally we come across studies that, okay, the toxin content in this particular state is above permissible limits, and some other state it went up then in a particular season, and such means sporadic reports. But in general, uniform platform for testing and inclusion of those parameters in the testing criteria, that needs to be done to ensure quality of milk and obviously of the milk products. So unless that is done, I believe that is going to take a lot of time still.
Yeah, no, I think like this is very valuable, because at the end of the day, because one question that I always think of my like when I'm thinking about the Indian dairy sector is because in India you buy milk, but you have to buy a feature, and you have to pay premium for getting a quality of the milk. But generally, it should be a feature of the milk. You don't have to pay premium to get quality out of milk. So this is like one big problem, and I think why is it important to like even like why did I ask you this question, because it is important to learn from different stakeholders because they think very differently. And I think like somehow one aspect has always been the residues, but the most critical aspect is rather the management practice rather than like actually abuse of any of these drugs into the animal. So it might be happening sporadically here or there, but it's not a reality of the or total reality of the Indian dairy sector. So yeah, I think this is really good, Dr. Ganguly. I think like firstly, I would like to thank you for your time and joining us for the daily dialogue and giving like sharing your views and opinions about the current topic. I would also like to inform our audience that, like with Dr. Ganguly, we are also planning to do a webinar on the current diseases, specifically covering lumpy skin disease. We would also share the information shortly in the coming weeks with you. So with this, Dr. Ganguly, I would like to thank you again for joining us for the daily dialogue, and
Thank you once again for having me.
thank you.